Good evening, and thank you, Mayor Mitchell, Judge Fernandes, Father Powell, Rabbi Cantor, Clerk Farias, my esteemed colleagues of the City Council, assessors, school committee members, ladies and gentlemen of the press, and my fellow citizens of the great city of New Bedford. As your elected representatives, we prepare to embark into 2 years of dedicated service on your behalf. Some of you are brand new to elected life, and we'll get to see what it's all about for the first time. To those of you, I say, I hope you enjoyed the honeymoon. Tomorrow, the real work begins. Real work, like justifying last year's historic tax increase. I know many of the citizens are still stinging from their visit to the mailbox on New Year's Eve. Rest assured, most of us are homeowners too, and we also felt that sting. But we must all understand, after 5 years of kicking the tax can down the road, an increase was coming. After all, rarely does the cost of doing business ever go down. And with federally mandated infrastructure improvements looming over our future, the Mitchell administration and the City Council had little other choice. Ladies and gentlemen, over the next decade, our city will undergo some of the largest infrastructure betterments we've ever seen. Certainly, not since Interstate 195 and Route 18 divided our neighborhoods has this city so aggressively made these kinds of changes. This year, our city's departments squeezed their budgets, most doing more with less. Some made grants, like the SAFER grant, go much farther than it was ever intended. And to those managers, I say thank you. Thank you for doing your best for the people of New Bedford. My colleagues and I look forward to working with you in 2016 to ensure you have what you need to provide those city services that people both need, want, and expect. To the patrolmen and women of the Bedford Police Department and the family and loved ones of the late Chief David Preventure, our condolences. The city plans to work with the Mitchell administration, the City Council plans to work with the Mitchell administration to make sure the next leader of the department can fill those rather large shoes most appropriately. Godspeed, Chief. While I know it may seem like forever that you're waiting for that pothole to get filled or that streetlight to be fixed, or maybe you wonder why it takes so long to get that next inspection so you can move forward with your remodel project. Our city employees are a small but dedicated crew who wants to do the job right. Many of them are homeowners, parents, grandparents, and citizens just like you. Remember, we're all citizens of this great community, and only as a community can we succeed. I'd like to challenge you all to get involved in 2016. Become a part of your community. Join a neighborhood group. Maybe help Neighborhoods United to continue the great work they do. Perhaps start a neighborhood group of your own, like resident Bill Jennings did at Tabor Mill Apartments. He and a motivated group of seniors living at Tabor Mill have developed an engaging monthly meeting bringing news from local government, important information and services right to their doorsteps. Together, they have become a compelling voice for community concerns. Let them be an inspiration to you and find something you are passionate about and go and volunteer to spread the word, help the cause, and foster whatever community that is. Since I have the podium, I'd like to take a moment to share a little story that was given to me from the internet, actually. It certainly has helped me keep some things in perspective since I've had to find myself this year working a little bit harder to make ends meet and volunteer a little more these last couple of years. It's also made me consider a New Year resolution that I think will be a must to keep. A college professor stood before his philosophy class and had some items in front of him. When the class began, he picked up an empty gallon mayonnaise jar and filled it with golf balls. He then asked the students if the jar was full. and they agreed it indeed was full. The professor then picked up a box of pebbles, and he poured the pebbles into the jar, and he shook the jar lightly, and the pebbles rolled into the openings between the golf balls. He asked the students, was the jar full? And they agreed it was. The professor next picked up a box of sand, and he poured that into the jar. Naturally, the sand filled up any remaining spaces. He asked once more if the jar was full, and the students responded with a unanimous yes. The professor then produced 2 cups of coffee from under the podium and poured the entire contents into the jar, effectively filling any empty space between the grains of sand. And the students gasped. Now, said the professor, it is truly full. And I want you to recognize that this jar represents your life. The golf balls are the truly important things. Faith, health, family, friends, community, and your personal passions. Those things that if everything else was lost and only they remained, your life would still be full and complete. The pebbles are the little things that matter, like your job, a roof over your head, your car, and bills. The sand is everything else, those daily dramas like parking tickets, the small stuff, he said. If you put the sand into the jar first, he continued, there's no room for pebbles or golf balls. The same goes for life. If you spend all of your time and energy on the small stuff, you will never have room for the things that are important, he told them. So pay attention to the things that are critical to your happiness. Worship with your family, play with your children, take your partner out to dinner, spend times with good friends, and engage in your community. There will always be time to clean the house, fix the dripping tap, and argue over parking tickets. Take care of the golf balls first, the things that really matter. Recognize and set your priorities, because the rest is just sand. One of his more astute students raised her hand and inquired what the coffee represented. The professor smiled and said, I'm glad you asked. Well, it goes to show you that no matter how full your life may seem, there's always room for a couple of cups of coffee with a friend. Remember, New Bedford, we're all in this together. It's our community. Thank you for the time. Good night. God bless, and may you all have a happy and fruitful new year. Thank you.